How's it going, everybody? And thank you for joining us on Bites with Friends. I am your host, Paul Veracci, on this very special Thanksgiving episode.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Stephen Kepfer, and happy Thanksgiving, Paul.
Happy Thanksgiving, buddy.
Yeah, man.
I can't wait for some, it's coming up in a couple of days, but I can't wait for some yummy turkey food.
Yo, no, it's the leftovers, dude. It's the turkey sandwiches.
It is. Thanksgiving is like pasta sauce. It's
turkey
always better
salad
the next day.
Turkey everything. Turkey trots.
And the family leaves.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
I think that's why it tastes better, is because you just get to eat in peace.
Yeah. So who we got on the show today, Paul?
Today we have a very, very special guest, a very happy guest. We have Happy Anderson. Happy is one of the most recognizable character actors out there today. I mean, he is literally, and he pretty much was recognized for being, that guy.
Yeah.
Happy is a big, red beard, red hair, 6'6".
I don't know. He's big.
He's big. He's a very big guy, and he's also one of the nicest guys in the world. And we have him on here talking about the fight from the Bikeriders.
Yeah,
a very, very pivotal fight.
Yeah, man. That fight between Happy and Tom Hardy is a pivotal, super critical moment in the Bikeriders movie.
Yeah, and we get some really good insight talking to Happy on this episode.
Yeah. He's just such a good dude, man.
And he's worked with so many great directors and so many great actors. Get in for a good Happy ride of some good stories.
Yeah, totally, man. This is a really good episode. I enjoyed the interview with Happy a lot, And, I'm not surprised that Tom Hardy almost choked him out.
Yeah, that was it was really funny. We know that, Tom Hardy is a pretty big grappler guy now.
Yeah.
And when he started talking about how when he gets a hold of him, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, man, totally. And so for those listening, this movie is fairly new, so there will be spoilers in here. So if you haven't seen the movie yet,
go see it now.
Go see it. It's on Peacock.
Yep.
It probably, by the time this drops, it's probably not going to be in theaters anymore, but definitely check it out. The fight scene that we're going to be talking about is linked in the show notes. So you can at least watch the fight scene there. So hit pause, watch the fight scene, and then come back and, listen to the wisdom. He gives some really cool wisdom about acting.
He does.
Yeah.
I had, especially about, nerves.
Yeah.
It's good, nice to know that even the best and even the seasoned, still have nerves, still get nervous. And for them to talk about it and how they got through it.
Everybody gets the imposter syndrome. Even people that you look up to and you think are like, these people have made it.
And something that you're gonna hear, but are you having fun?
Yeah, totally. So we need to thank some folks.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. Okay, so let's go in with our YouTube commentators. I love our YouTube commentators. Evelyn Vaquero and Hard Rolls. Thank you so much for commenting.
Yeah, we love it when the YouTube subscribers actually comment and talk with us. It's really awesome. So if you are subscribing to our YouTube, then thank you so much, and drop a comment and we'll mention you on the show. If you're not subscribing, why the heck aren't you?
Right?
Like, you need to be subscribed.
Subscribe, ask a question, and we'll mention you on the show.
Yeah, totally. We will mention you on the show. Our goal is to have so many subscribers and comments that we're going to have to figure out another way to thank you besides mentioning you on the show.
Yeah, and also we love it when we see comments from our friends.
Yeah, totally. Hey, coming up in June next year is a really awesome film festival that we are sponsoring.
That's right.
Yeah. The Art of Movie Making Film Festival.
Yes.
And I love this festival because it really celebrates the crafts people within the film industry. The costumers, the set decks, the set builders, the stunt performers. They're not giving like a best performance, best directing. They're not doing any of that. It's all the quote unquote below the line folks.
All the crew.
Yeah, the crew, the people that the engine behind a film.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And they do have a best stunt performance category. And so, Paul, as you know, we are going to have the winner of that category on the show next year.
Very nice. That's going to be a fun episode. And the one thing that's going to be great about having a new
up and coming
filmmaker on the show is just is hopefully that we can get them earlier in their career, and then if the podcast takes off, we can get them later in their career.
That's right. We're just using you.
That's right. That's all. You're just a gateway for us.
No. We love being like the first, quote unquote, the first interviewer. You know, whatever the fuck that means. We like giving people a voice.
Steve wants to be your first.
Oh boy, we're not going that way, are we?
Nope, we're not. So,
but if you do want to submit to the film festival, we will put the link in our show notes to their Film Freeway page. So if you have a film that you want to submit, go check out any of their categories and see if you fit. But it's a great film festival. I had a lot of fun at it this year, and next year will be their fourth one. So go check them out. If you're a filmmaker and you want to submit something for one of their categories, definitely do it.
It'd be nice if we could have our own film festival one day. But until then, we are just going to have to possibly do a screening and do a Fights with Friend presents a screening of Preston Thomas's film Jitsu.
Oh, you mean like a live event? Like our first live event?
Like our first live event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That we are doing that.
We are.
Yeah, totally.
So that's going to be Saturday, February 8th at the Stewart Cinema in Brooklyn, New York. And it's going to be free for all of our Patreon members.
Yep. So if you are supporting us on Patreon, you will be able to attend this advanced screening of this movie for free. And it's a cool movie, man. It's like basically, it's called Film Jitsu, and we're going to have Preston on the show to talk more about it in a future episode. But it's literally about the intersection between the film industry and martial arts, and that could be through stunts or through filmmakers who are martial artists. And I think, he started out wanting to tell a particular story, but then as he went through all these interviews with some legends, he started to reflect on his own journey as a filmmaker / martial artist, and it's a pretty cool documentary. So I'm really excited to be the first to present the first New York screening of this movie.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. And sorry, I lost my train of thought.
I don't know. So just please support us on Patreon. We love you. And if you are on our Patreon and you're at you're at the $20 a month level, you do get a custom pin, which we actually just got the quotes on. So those are coming.
So those are coming.
Yeah.
For our very, very special $20 Patreon member.
Yeah, but even if you support us at $1, we love you.
We do.
We
and
definitely do.
We appreciate all the support because it's less money that we have to take out of our pockets to,
yeah.
for the podcast. And
I mean, the you Patreon followers, supporters, like really, you're the lifeblood that keeps us going. Our sponsors got us off the ground.
Yep, for sure.
But to keep us running, we really
appreciate all the Patreon members. We really appreciate
the Patreon members.
Yep.
But speaking of sponsors, let's thank a couple of sponsors, man.
We do. Stunt Contact.
Yeah. Stunt Contact. Awesome.
You guys are the best.
Yeah,
I love them. You know what I also like is we follow each other on Instagram now, so I always smile when they like my posts.
Oh yeah,
because they're like a big thing. So I'm like,
yeah, and they're super active. They really are out there in the community. They participating, liking, being social on the social media. But Stunt Contact's great. Their breakdown service is excellent. Their website is second to none, and they're just really great. And I think we mentioned it before, I got to hang out with Noelle Kim, the owner of Stunt Contact, because Stunt Contact used to be this basically kind of like a newsletter, like a bi-weekly thing. You could subscribe to it, and then that went away for a little while because the original organizers, owners of it, passed away, and so it's now revamped into this whole new sort of 21st century version of Stunt Contact. It's very different than the original version, except in name. Like, I think people, when they subscribe to this, if you know the old Stunt Contact, that's not what you're getting. Now you're getting a very interactive experience that really, really provides you the information that you need, and not the information you don't need, which sometimes you get these subscription things and you're getting like information that's like old. Like, I know this already. How come it's like this stuff is very up to date. You can get daily emails with new productions that were listed that day. You can get weekly emails And they do a great service. So definitely, if you're a stunt performer or even anyone else in filmmaking, if you're a director, you want to know what's going on out there, Stunt Contact's great. It's a great breakdown service.
Stunt Contact, we thank you, we love you, and let's not forget. Well, not forget. What do you mean? We're only on our second sponsor, Fight or Flight Entertainment and Brett Copes. Brett Copes is one of the best in the business. You want to learn how to fly. You want to learn safety.
Yep.
Brett is the man. He does workshops all over the country.
Yeah.
LA.
And we will share the information about those workshops on our social media. Definitely attend one. If you need a primer on performance, flying humans for performance, his workshops are where it's at. They're great. If you're not a rigger and you just need to know some basics, they're great. And if you are a rigger and you want to get hours for continued education or all these other things, like Brett's workshops are awesome. He also, I think, does inspections, facility inspections, and all different stuff aside from actually work, rigging for TV and theater. Yeah, Brett's the man.
Brett is awesome, and Brett came here and did a workshop with us.
Yeah, he's totally.
I learned so much.
We're talking to him about coming on the show, so hopefully we'll get him on the show.
It'd be great if he could come down here and do the show after he did a workshop.
Well, actually, we just emailed with him last week, and he said he will come to the screening next year. So that would be great. We would love all our sponsors to come to the screening.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
I mean, they're totally welcome to come.
And our other sponsor that will be at the screening.
Oh, you mean like us?
Like us? Breakfall Studios?
Breakfall Studios.
That's right. We sponsor ourselves, folks. We believe in we.
Yeah.
What?
What is it? We believe in we?
We believe in we.
I believe I could fly. No, that's Brett's song. Yeah, but listen, we also provide a service. If you need a space, you can see the space behind us. If you need to rent a space for rehearsals or for auditions or to shoot some previs, or you have an actor that needs to be trained, a fight that needs to be choreographed, a workshop that you'd like to host, hit us up.
Breakfall Studios.
Yeah, man. You can find us on Instagram at Breakfall Stunts, or you can email us. Our email is in the show notes, fightingwithfriendspod@gmail.com. But it'll be in the show notes. Reach out. We are here for you.
We are here.
Breakfall Studios.
Hi.
We did like the first half of the season. We didn't even plug ourselves.
I know.
And Paul was like,
I'm like, my wife just was like, you guys don't plug Breakfall. I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, damn it.
We're like, damn, we should be plugging
I was
ourselves.
like, yeah, we should have thought about that.
So that's what we're doing.
So here we go, 15 episodes in.
Yeah, totally.
My wife reminds me that we're not promoting ourselves on our podcast.
I know. What would we do? What would we do? Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie.
Hey, so please follow us, like us, subscribe to us, comment, review, however you can show us love, wherever you listen to us or see what our posts or whatever. Please do it.
And anywhere you can leave feedback, please do. We're so interested in what you guys have to hear, and it also just lets us know that you're out there.
Yeah, we're at Fights with Friends Pod pretty much everywhere. Instagram, Facebook. We're even on what is it? Letterboxd. Letterboxd? Is that what it is? The film blog thing? We're on there now too.
Cool.
So you can find us there too. We're everywhere, man. We're trying to be everywhere.
We are, and now we are about to go and get into our interview with Happy.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's talk about muddy fights, brutal fights.
Yeah.
With Tom Hardy.
Choking him out.
Yeah. All right. Let's do it. Let's bring in Happy.
Bring in Happy. And here we are with Happy Anderson, Big Jack from Bikeriders, amongst so many other amazing character roles.
Hell yeah, man.
Happy, we are so happy to have you.
Yeah,
I'm happy to be here.
You've never heard that joke before, I'm sure.
Oh my God! Well, the worst was the summer Happy Gilmore came out. That's all I heard every day.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, that's fine. And you mentioned it, they're filming the sequel now.
Yep.
Yep.
Right over here in New Jersey. Yeah.
Is that right? Oh,
yeah. Cool, man. So we're totally psyched to have you here. This is awesome.
Yeah, this is really cool. And what's funny is when we had you on as a guest, then we decided to do the deep dive, and I think Steve and I found out some really cool things about this movie, Bikeriders.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we really can't wait to get into it. And
yeah, totally.
And
so for everybody listening and watching, we have a link to the fight we're going to discuss, the fight between you and Tom Hardy. We have it in the show notes. So everybody hit pause right now. Watch the fight. then come back and hit unpause so you know what the fuck we're talking about, right?
There you go.
Yeah. So let's start from the beginning. Like, before we get into the fight, even how did this all happen for you? How did you get hooked up with this film?
As I recall, I think they just asked me to do it. I hadn't met anyone, but obviously I knew who Jeff Nichols was, and the script was pretty great, and I knew it was only a couple of scenes, but I was like, this could be really awesome, you know what I mean? And also, like, you know, sometimes you do like the not big movies as an investment in yourself, and you know, and your own career. So I was really excited to do it. It was a bit stressful. I was in Cincinnati, and I was doing the Steven Soderbergh show Full Circle at the same time back in New York. So I do remember the time being a bit chaotic and stressful, but
Sure.
The few days I was on set for Bikeriders was awesome.
So you mentioned the script was great. So even though you had such a small part, I guess my question is for most of the roles that you read, or at least with a movie, do you read the entire script?
Oh, well, sometimes they don't offer it to you.
Okay.
They just want, you know, everybody's pretty tight-lipped about everything. But yeah, I mean, certainly with like a role that shows up all the time, I would have to. I mean, without context, I'd just be like, you know, sort of floatingly saying words. But you know, a lot of times if it's just a scene or something, it helps to not understand the world because you just dropped in and then you're gone. But for Bikeriders, I chose to, you know, Jeff wrote it, and I love this movie, so I was like, I want to see what this is, you know.
Well, and it's not like he does a ton of movies. I mean, he
doesn't.
Yeah, he's got like four features and a couple of shorts and stuff. And I listened to an interview with him on another podcast, which, by the way, is a really good podcast if you guys are interested. It's called Script Apart. He was saying he actually started thinking about this like 20 years ago when he saw the book on his brother, like in his brother's house or something. But he didn't feel like he was a good enough writer at the time to really do it justice, to do what he needed to do, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he saw the book when he was a little kid.
That's insane.
That's 20 years to just been like, no, it's not the right time.
Have it percolating in your brain.
It's not the right time.
Right.
You know, and then all of a sudden been like,
like, so do you know Happy was, because like, obviously the majority of the cast are based on real people, even though the story is sort of this crafted story based on anecdotes. And for those who are listening, the story is based on a book, a photography book, a photo book with lots of anecdotes about the outlaws in Chicago, which in the movie are the Vandals. But and then Nichols crafted this narrative out of all this. So the narrative is completely fiction, even though the people are
real.
Yes. Are real, are not real. I mean, are real. The people are, what's real, what's not real.
Yeah.
Are we even here, man?
And also I feel like I might as well say it now because it is kind of a new movie. We are going to spoil the fuck out of this. So
yeah, that's true.
Please make sure you watch this movie because spoilers are coming.
Yeah.
It's because I mean, we're about to talk about, as Steve and I, once we had Happy on as a guest, we realized how pivotal of a scene this was.
Yeah.
So, you know, we kind of have so many questions into just the depth of such a small little fight, but how it had huge impact on this whole entire movie.
Yeah. So you read the whole script. I guess my original question though about the reality and not reality. Do you know if Big Jack was a fictitious character? I actually wrote to Danny Lyon at his website. Didn't hear back from him, Danny. I hope you hear this, but I did write to him to ask about the culture of these challenge fights and if Big Jack was actually a real person or not. Do you know anything about that?
He was. I don't think he was called Big Jack, but we got recordings of the way these people talked. So that was the best way to learn sort of a crazy dialect, was because we just heard the guys telling stories themselves.
That's we just before you got on, we listened to a recording of the original Kathy.
Jodie Comer sounded identical.
Yes, she did.
When I first saw it, I was like, this is kind of seems creepy. Like it's a lot. It's like this accent, and then I heard the recording. I was like, holy moly!
Yeah, isn't that wild?
Like exact. Yeah.
So you heard recordings of who the person who Big Jack was based off of?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. I don't
That's
remember the real person's name, but
right.
I just remember like I was like, I don't know how to talk like that, you know. But if you listen to something enough, you know, you can at least get pretty close to it.
So, can I just ask? Can you be Big Jack for a second, and just talk like Big Jack?
Oh, I don't. God, what did he even say?
Well, like there's a Milwaukee podcast that wants to become a chapter.
You said if anyone disagree, we could challenge you. So I guess I'm challenging you.
There you go. That's awesome, dude.
That's crazy. Yeah, and wow, it is a voice.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Wow, it's kind of I didn't even realize it. You know, and then when you hear Jody's real voice,
Oh my God, yeah, totally.
it's amazing. Yeah.
She's from
man.
Liverpool.
I'm always impressed on how the Brits just lose that shit. It's just gone.
A lot of them nail the Chicago, I find. Tom Hardy nails the Chicago like that. Like I figure there's something about the Chicago that makes them hit that R.
Well, he was so Brando in this movie, right?
He was, yeah.
Yeah. So your guy was real, and so when we were talking before, and it's interesting with you saying that sometimes you don't read the script because you're just kind of dropped into this world, and in reality you might not know all the other stuff anyway. But
Right.
This fight was so pivotal.
Yeah.
It's literally a transitional moment in the whole culture of that club, right? This is what
Right.
allows the outside chapters come in
Mm-hmm.
to the motorcycle club, which eventually is the undoing of the club.
Yep.
Totally. And it's that chapter that
That
Big
is
Jack
that.
was
Yeah,
fighting
that
for.
was one of the things that we had realized. I was like, when
It's-
we brought it up, we're just like, oh wait, I was like, that was the chapter he said he was from when he challenged him in the end. I was
Yeah.
like,
Isn't that wild?
wow. Yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
That was pretty deep.
Yeah, that's
You
super
know,
deep, man.
That fight was the beginning of the end, you know, and I think it was his gut said no. His
Right.
gut said no, and I think even though he won that fight, I think it was adrenaline, I think it was beer, I think it was and when he grabbed you and he said, you know, it's they can, you know, I feel like it's kind of something that like, you know, you do with your friends after they kind of do something wrong and you're trying to like tell them
for
it's
sure.
you know what I mean? I feel like it was kind of one of those moments.
Well, I've done that as a coach. I've had guys that like in my depth of my, you know, back of my brain, I'm like, you're not ready to really compete yet.
Right.
And then I let them do it, and then it doesn't always
Mhm.
work out great. And then there's that part of you that's like, man, I should have
listened to myself.
I should have listened to myself. Yeah. But you know what's interesting, Happy, is that oftentimes we say the thing that stunt people don't like to hear is a lot of times the action or the stunt or the fight really doesn't always contribute to the story. Like not too often does it move a story forward, you know.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And
But
right.
this fight really pushed the story forward, you know.
You could argue it's the most consequential fight in the whole thing.
It is, absolutely.
Mhm.
Without this fight, the movie, it has no direction in a weird
Right.
way. It just kind of, even though the movie goes and comes around full circle, normally when something comes around full circle, it comes around to something. But then there are certain movies that just go around and around and around and around.
Right.
This movie
Yeah.
would have just went around nowhere and then just decided, hey, we're going to stop somewhere.
I think the brilliant ththing is maybe at first blush, it looks like that it does that. Like it just goes round and round until he says the word Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And again, when I didn't realize it until Steve mentioned to me, he goes, yeah, that was the end of the club. That was the beginning of the end. And then he goes, you know, when he let in the Milwaukee chapter, and I was like, wait, that kid said Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God. I was like, oh, that's so deep. That's awesome.
Yeah, I didn't catch it watching the movie.
Me
Maybe
neither.
unconsciously somewhere I did, but
I didn't.
Like it wasn't until rewatching it and like kind
Right.
of just, you know, getting ready for this interview, I was like, wait a minute. This is everything right here. I mean, this in a weird way is like Duel of the Fates in episode 1 of Star Wars, because that fight with Anakin, that was for the soul of Anakin Skywalker. Was he going to be Jedi or Sith? And whoever won that fight, the outcome of the whole entire Star Wars franchise based on that fight. And this is kind of like the same thing. Like, this fight really pointed the direction of the club.
Well, I mean, the thing is that it didn't matter who won, because the guy who won still let him in.
Right.
So that was kind of the interesting part, was even when he afterwards, when he goes, why'd you let him in? If you were going to let him in, why'd you do it anyway?
When you guys are prepping for this, did you have these conversations? Like, what is the intent, or you kind of just knew this is the direction it was going to go, or did you not know?
I think, like, the biggest thing that Jeff talked about, like, we actually didn't talk about the context too very much. He was like, just make it brutal, make it messy and brutal. And Tom is so strong that sometimes I was really worried he was going to snap my neck. So I was like, it's pretty brutal.
Well, he's a pretty serious jiu-jitsu guy now too. So
yeah,
he is.
I mean, he's definitely got a grip on him. I've seen some of the videos. I wouldn't fuck with him.
Charlie.
No way, dude.
Yeah. Charlie, he was just over here in the city training over at Henzo's, and he was training with my buddy Charlie, who's a BJJ black belt over there, and he said that he was a beast.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So what was the prep for this fight like? I mean, rehearsal time and mapping it out and the whole experience for you.
Did you prep in the mud?
No, we originally prepped. I was really fortunate. There's a guy that I always ask to double me, and sometimes they'll say no, and sometimes they'll say yes. Most of the time they say yes, and this time they did. And
what's his name? Give him a shout.
Chad Knorr.
Oh, yeah, we know Chad.
Hey, Chad.
Yeah, he's good. We've been working together since 2015 or 16, I think. He first doubled me in a movie with Robert De Niro, and
the comedian.
And he does such a yes, exactly.
There you go.
And he does such a great job, and over time, he he has my mannerisms down and everything, and he also knows what I don't want to do, so he just jumps in before I have to say I don't want to do that, because I have a bad back and everything, and I just really, really appreciate that relationship. So I was really psyched to see him there. And I mostly just watched them do it because Tom wasn't there, and it was the same day I landed in Cincinnati. So, they had staged it and it looked cool. We were on a mat, but then like a week later when we shot it, kind of the whole thing just totally changed because, Tom gets really excited and wants to add things and take away things. And
that's every fight scene.
Yeah. And I realized how strong he was when we had to do the part where we were on the ground and he chokes me.
Yeah.
And before we said action, it was a tight grip, but I wasn't. And all of a sudden they said action. I was like, I can't fucking breathe, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to bring it a little bit,
Just a bit.
Yeah.
It's like I gotta pretend this is like 20% real.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. So, how much? So, what was it like from rehearsals, and what changed when you got on set? Because we talk a lot about how not to be married to the choreography, because a lot of times you get on location, you get in set, and all these ideas start flowing and things and stuff changes.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting point, because now that I'm reflecting back, because I've had so many fight scenes, and it almost never is the same as what we initially stage. Right, and then the stunt team does it, and then you put the actors in, and they all have different ideas, and so it was quite different, if I remember correctly.
Was there anything like once you got, because they obviously had some idea of what it was going to be before you arrived, like you said, they were already working on it. And when you get there, are you contributing aspects that you think, well, Big Jack would maybe do this, not that, or Big Jack would respond this way, not that way?
For sure. I didn't, there wasn't a lot of not that. I tend to really have a lot of respect for stunt workers, and I don't want to get in the way,
Sure.
But I did want to add a lot of, he's just so big. Like I just wanted to add a lot of like just right crosses, because
Yeah.
whenever you see a large man fight, he uses his fists. He doesn't, really try to, because he doesn't really have any, but he doesn't try to use his agility and fighting skills. He just wants to pummel the
Well, you didn't want to do a jumping, spinning 360 hook kick.
guy.
No, the fight was so gritty and brutal and real. That was what I think was great about it.
Yeah.
It wasn't fancy. It was real, like two real guys fighting.
Well, I mean, and especially when you're rolling around in the mud, that's pretty much what it's going to end up looking like.
Yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally.
Just
And that was supposed to be sloppy,
Yeah, sloppy, no technique. You're not going to be able to really throw good punches with slippery, muddy footing, and you know what I mean. It's just coming out with all your weight behind it and hoping you land it.
Yeah, totally.
Well, and it's interesting you mentioned slippery mud, because a couple times we actually caught each other on the chin and stuff, and I was like, oh, I'm so glad I'm not really fucking fighting this guy.
Yeah, totally. He looks like, I mean, I've never worked with him, but it reminds me a little bit of like when I did a scene with John Bernthal in Punisher, and he was just so in 100% in that Punisher personality that I was like legit afraid of him.
Yeah, he gets into it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
He gets himself psyched up. He would get himself psyched up like before a scene would start.
Yeah.
And it's funny, he would like start grunting. And
yeah.
Right? And
yeah.
So actually, side story. But on the rap day, I had a friend who passed down to me probably about a couple thousand autographs, signed autographs. He had his grandfather used to hang out on Broadway and have everybody sign things. And one day I was watching Young Frankenstein, and the Putting on the Ritz scene is coming on, and I'm in the other room and I start laughing hysterically because it just immediately started picturing John. And is all his grunting in Young Frankenstein. So for the rap day, like on the trailer, one of the autographs that he had was Gene Wilder and Peter Boyle signed things. So I brought that in and gave that to John as a rap gift.
Oh, that's cool.
But at the same time, it was also nice because I got to make fun of him, because I was like,
yeah,
you were grunting all the time on set.
Did he like it? Was he?
He was like, he actually didn't want to take it because Gene Wilder had passed. And he was like, hey, he's like, I can't take this from you. And I'm like, look, man, I'm like, I promised my friend I would never, ever sell this or any of these. And I was like, and I have another one. I'm like, just please. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Please. I'm like, so yeah, but he took it.
Yeah, he was so, but I mean, because I'm not an actor, don't blush, but you're an amazing actor. You've been in so many great things, in so many iconic shows and in front of so many amazing directors.
And
but
you
like,
hold the line with the best.
When I'm on set with somebody who's really like selling it, man, like it's crazy. Like those moments, that's one of the best parts for me, for my job, is sometimes to just be able to watch this amazing craft happen in front of my face, like I know I'm waiting for my time to go, but most of the time I get to watch this amazing stuff happen.
Watching people, I think, come in and out of character on set is truly amazing, especially like a true actor. Like before I got into film, people were like, oh, it's a muscle, acting is like a muscle. And then I never understood that. And then I was watching Tom Pelphrey on Iron Fist, and he was doing a scene where he was going through withdrawal on a table and like freaking out. But in between takes, he was just talking to his makeup person. And he would go from like this sweating, manic fucking mess, and then they would yell cut, and he would literally just continue the conversation in a millisecond. And afterwards, I'm like, how do you do that? Like, it took me, like, remember, I had to play a rapey guy, and I'm like, I had to tell everybody to stop talking to me, because I'm like, I can't. I'm such a nice guy. I can't be a creepy. I can't go back and forth. It's just like, it's fucking with me.
Yeah.
So being able to just turn that on and off is amazing.
So let's go rewind a little bit. You're from upstate New York originally, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the path from upstate New York to that muddy that muddy pit? Like how did you end up in LA, and did you like what was that? Give us the Cliff Notes version.
Oh gosh. Okay.
I mean, I know
you
you
know,
went to school for
yeah,
drama,
I
or
got yeah, for acting. I went to college and immediately to grad school. So I was in training for a long time, I guess. But the little town I grew up in, High Falls, is like an hour and a half drive from the GW Bridge, and it might as well be another fucking planet, man. It's
right.
like in the woods, in a valley, mountains. There's
Sure.
farms. Everyone's hunting. So that's what I loved about that. But there wasn't a lot of opportunity. I pretty much wanted to perform from the day I was born. So I started off as a tap dancer.
Really?
Yeah,
So the agility is in there, man. We knew it.
somewhere. And then but I don't really sing, and then so I started doing musicals, but they just when they need a tap dancer, and then blah blah blah. So I wanted to be an actor. I did my first professional theater thing in 1995 in Ellenville, New York, at a theater called Shadowland Theater. So that was the first time I really got paid to act. And
what
so then
what was it?
What'd you do?
It was a play called The Foreigner. I played it was a comedy, but I played a developmentally disabled teenager.
Okay.
Typecast. So then I went to college and did summer theater in the summers and grad school and all that, and
Right.
I found myself in New York City in 2003, and just hit the pavement, and eventually it was slow going. I didn't. I was 26 when I got there, and I did my first movie when I was 29.
I was going to say 2006 was the first. I felt like 2006, and then it just.
Well, that was the writer's strike back then. Was 2006, 2007, and everything like slowed down too, right?
It was 2008 actually.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Yeah. The writer's strike was 2008.
The writer's strike, or maybe it was 07 into 08. That's what it was.
It overlapped years. Like it was the end of a year to beginning of a year.
I think it was 07 and 08.
But the point is, it did slow down quite a bit.
It did slow down. Yeah. But at that point in my career, I wasn't working that much anyway, so I barely noticed it. You know what I mean?
It happens. It happens. Like even on this strike, and this is not meant to be offensive to anybody who was marching on the strike, because we were all out there. But it was ironic to see people marching on the strike that weren't even working before the strike, really. So
my wife made a similar comment. Yeah. I didn't mind though. We're all brothers and sisters, and we needed to get what we needed.
100%.
I don't regret it.
I felt bad for the people who were like, "I just paid my dues." I'm like, "Oh God, that sucks."
Oh my God.
like I just got in and I paid my dues. Strike.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's terrible.
Yep.
That's terrible.
It was rough time. But anyway, so you weren't working much, and it was the mid 2000s, and you end up going to LA.
I moved to LA in 2023. We were in New York for 20 years, and my wife, coming out of COVID, New York changed a lot, and I thought I'd never live anywhere else. But in the middle of all that, 2020 to 2021, we almost moved upstate because we just wanted a change. And then,
sure.
But she'd wanted to live on the West Coast for a long time, and it's sunny here, and so finally I just was like, yeah, let's do it. And then the strike happened, like literally 3 weeks later, the writer's part of it.
Yeah.
So it's been a weird first year and a half here, and I've been here a lot for work. I think the longest I stayed here was 5 months for a movie. So it's not like I couldn't navigate LA, but it just was such a weird way to start in a new city.
Yeah, for sure. That makes total sense. So what was sort of that, I don't know, for lack of a better word, what was that like? I mean, because you never quote unquote made it, right? You always feel like you're still trying to make it, but it's like, what was that moment where you went from not working much to all of a sudden, like, bam, what happens? I'm working a lot,
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure it was when Steven Soderbergh cast me in the Knick. And once you get sort of knighted by a director like that, there's way less resistance to you. And then after Mindhunter, I started just getting offered stuff, which for me at the time was totally unusual. Like I remember I was offered like a pretty good supporting role in that movie, Bright, and I literally said, Are they sure they have the right guy?
The imposter syndrome is strong.
Well, that was the
Yeah,
the
yeah.
one with Will Smith and Joel Edgerton, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So then, that's awesome, dude.
That was actually a good movie. I mean, it was I forget the director was David Ayer,
David Ayer.
right?
Yeah.
I mean,
David Ayer.
David Ayer was like big gangster movie, and then all of a sudden it's just like, let's just change. He's like, oh, forget gangs. He's like, let's just make them fairies and ogres, and I mean that that was
it was some of the most fun I've ever had. You know what I mean? And the critical response was, I found odd, because they were criticizing for something that it wasn't even trying to be. You know what I mean? Like, it was just a big fun movie, and they were like, the social commentary isn't strong enough. Like, that's because there isn't any.
Right.
Well, isn't that odd? Like, the people, like, if they don't get something in a production that reflects their beliefs, then all of a sudden it's like
terrible.
it's like a shitty production.
It's like when you
It's crazy.
when you defriend someone on Facebook because you disagree with each other.
Or it's like Civil War, like Alex Garland's Civil War. People got really upset that he didn't choose a side, like right or left.
Oh my God, I know. I think that criticism is crazy. The whole point is we don't know who's who.
I saw. By the way, I saw it last night, and that's exactly why I liked it.
It was so
Me
good.
too.
Yeah,
exactly why I liked
It was one of the best things about it. It doesn't matter. Like, okay, so shit hit the fan already. That's what it's about. Like, it's about what's happening right now.
This is what happens when we hate each other so much.
Yeah. That movie was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
That was really good. So Bright was the most fun that you've had on set?
Not the most fun, but it was
one
a
of the
lot.
best.
I mean, it was also the first time I did a movie where I appeared throughout, you know?
Oh, right.
So that part of it was really exciting, and it was probably the biggest movie I'd been on at that point. So, and I'm always sort of like paired with another guy in everything I do. Actually, Bikeriders is the exception to that, but it's usually like me and somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been lucky. Edgar Ramirez was awesome. He was such a fun guy to be with all the time. Sometimes I can't imagine if you're stuck with like a dud and you do everything together in the movie. I think that would be really hard. But you know, some people I've become really close friends with, but pretty much everyone I had a great time with on whatever it is I'm working with them.
That's awesome. Well, we worked together on Blacklist.
That's right. Yes,
we worked together on Blacklist.
Yeah, but that was one of the dud moments.
That was one of the dud moments.
Right. I was trying to figure out the politest way to say it, but you did it for me.
I'll just say it. I'll put it out there.
I mean, we ran into a room together, and then I died.
Wait, was that the wood chipper scene, or was that the?
No, I got killed. I got killed before the wood chipper scene. When so there was we ran in to go get Tom Keegan, right, and we ran into a house, and the car blew up outside.
Right.
And you ran in with two guys, and it was with me and Dylan Hintz.
Yeah.
And then we ran in, and then you went left and up the stairs, and I went straight and got shot.
Oh, that's right. I can't believe how quickly they staged that stuff.
That was so quick.
But like, you guys pick it up immediately. Like when it's that quick for me, I'm like, I pull the trigger when I I don't have a mind for that really. So it always like, and that's why I've always had such a reverence for the stunt community, because I'm like, I can't, like, I'm just not good at that stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, that's like
that's how I feel about the acting.
Yeah, I remember I got hit up to do this little indie horror film, and it had some lines in it, and I'm used to like maybe a couple lines, which make me nervous enough. I'm usually more nervous about that than whatever stunt I have to do. And it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna send you the sides. And it was like 12 pages. And I'm like, oh my God.
Whoa.
This is a lot, dude. This is a lot.
Yeah.
Like, it was trial by fire, man. I mean, thank God nobody ever really saw it. But it was like scary.
Did you pull it off?
I did. I came up with this weird way to remember it. I don't know. It's pretty crazy, but like, because I never went to any kind of acting school or anything like that. So I was like, well, I do memorize songs. I know I memorize songs. So I started singing. I started walking around my apartment singing the singing the lines, right, to my cats. I'm like singing to my cats. I'm singing whatever. I'm just singing them, but God damn it, it worked. I remembered all the lines. Then I just had to take the song out of it, and
What melody did you use?
I don't even know, man. I just made like sing-songy,
Twinkle, twinkle.
like, like whatever came into my head, but it totally worked. And then the other thing that worked for me, at least, was it was 12 pages, but it was four scenes. So then I was like, okay, well, I'm really only memorizing, I'm not doing 12 pages straight through. I'm like doing 3,
Right.
and then there's going to be another scene, and then I'll do another 3 or 4, and then there'll be something else. So it's like takes the kind of fear factor out of it a little bit when you realize I didn't have to do it all at once.
Happy, when you were on, speaking of just long dialogue and whatever, I've heard stories of what it was like working on Mindhunter.
They're all true.
Okay, so there we go. What I guess, what was the first time you were really, really like nervous when you were going? You were just like, okay, I've done this, but like I remember the first time I had to do a stunt with the number 1. I was nervous.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like,
oh sure,
I was like, holy shit, like I can't fuck this up, like,
right.
That's
a lot of pressure.
What was the first experience for you?
Gosh. Well, my first movie was a lot of. I definitely got nervous because it was in the Middle East, and it was my first real movie. And after a 14-hour flight, I'm not sure if I'm remembering this correctly, but it was either right away or pretty soon thereafter. I had to go shoot my first scene, which was a 3-page monologue to all the soldiers, the entire rest of the cast.
Oh wow!
And it was really my first time stepping in front of a camera. Brian De Palma was directing.
Holy cow.
Like I was trying not to have a panic attack. And so the only thing I knew to do, because I was so new, was to try to. And I think a lot of actors still, do this, but I decided to overcompensate to push through the nerves. Instead of being like, I don't belong here, I started psyching myself up and saying, they're not ready for what I'm about to do. I'm going to fucking crush this. And so yeah. I got through it, and it was horrible. I just needed to get that out, I guess, because after they called cut, De Palma was like, okay, Happy, let's try it again. This time, try to remember you're not in a fucking play.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty great. In retrospect, it was awesome.
That'll be someday your biography. That'll be the title. This is not a fucking play. So I read in an interview that Mandy Patinkin is a mentor of yours, or one of your mentors.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, when I was growing up. Yeah.
How did that happen? How did that come about?
Well, I was 8. I went to see The Princess Bride in the movie theater.
Oh my god!
And I'd heard he had a house in our neighborhood, so I rode my bike over there.
I'm just holding. I'm just gonna hold Paul's glass up to the camera right here. This is Paul's.
It's the Alamo Drafthouse Princess Bride glass. It's the scene when they're falling down. It's the scene when they're falling down the hill.
Oh, that's cool.
How cool, man! What a coincidence, right? So you were 8 and you went to see Princess Bride.
And then the next day I rode my bike to where me and my best friend rode our bikes to where we heard his house was. And him and his family were in the backyard. And I just walked up to him and said, we're friends now.
No way.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's amazing. He's actually doing a...
You literally did the same thing. Did he turn to you and say, this is not a play, kid? Like you totally overdid it, right? You're like, I'm going to go in and crush this. I'm going to go crush it. This is my fucking... Okay, we're friends now. So that's awesome. And then he embraced this whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, the whole time I was growing up, and my first professional summer theater when I went to in college, and that was his first job, and he encouraged me to go to this theater. And I mean, he was such a musical guy. There wasn't a direct link, but he just helped me. I remember he coached my monologues for my college auditions, and just always gave advice, and it was always really helpful.
What's a piece of advice that he gave that still rings true for you?
I think I think the biggest piece, and sometimes I teach and I tell my students this too. It's like if you want to be an actor, it has to be the most important thing, the only thing, and you need to have fun because it's there's plenty of like jobs that you can be grouchy at that have a more consistent income. Check yourself. Do you really love it? And I've been able to answer yes my whole life, really. And so that really and I worded it a little differently. I don't remember how he exactly worded it, but this is back when auditions were in person.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, when you go in and you do the audition and you leave, don't ask yourself, did I nail it? Did I get the job? Just ask yourself two questions. Did I tell the truth and did I enjoy myself? And if you can answer yes to both questions, then you already won because you can't control anything else about it. So then you got the job basically without knowing about the money yet because you did you got to act in front of an audience that had to be there, right?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because I mean anybody who is in the business, right? Like Paul, you said the people that joined the guild and then all of a sudden COVID happened or the strike happened or whatever. I remember when I first got into SAG and one of the biggest surprises for me was how often I actually had to do in-person auditions as a stunt person. I was completely,
really? I didn't know that.
completely shocked. Like how many auditions I went to, and I completely felt out of my depth. Which is I got another friend of ours, Cliff Moylan, who's an actor, and I was
had
like,
him on the
yeah, he was on
episode.
the last episode, but I was like, you got to help me with this. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, dude. It was like there was so many auditions. Like I would get a call, like I got a call for what was the show? It was with Kevin Bacon, City on the Hill, and it was like,
okay,
we know you. There's going to be a fight in the VFW, right? And they were like, the coordinator called me. He goes, hey, we know you got the fight stuff, but you got to go audition because it's a speaking part. And so I'd get a lot of that stuff. It's like, hey, we know you got the physical thing, but you need to go audition for the acting part. And I did not expect that at all, So
that surprises me.
And hearing, but the way you just said it, like you just acted for someone, you just acted for an audience, you did the job, and anything else after that is gravy.
Right.
Like, that's such a that I think that would just relieve tension,
Yeah, when I was at Rockstar one day, they were just having us do a scene, and they normally never put the headset on me, but they put the headset on us, and they just wanted to be like a bunch of construction workers. And I literally, and I'm like, and they're like, just improv stuff. And I was like, well, what kind of a construction worker? I'm like a New York construction worker? And they were like, yes. And I was like, okay. So I just went off and just said a bunch of hysterically racist and funny shit. And then they literally the next day, they're like, hey, we want you to audition for something. And I did fucking terrible. But what was great was one of the guys was like, you were so loose when you were doing this but when you did the audition, you were so much more stiffer because you were trying to almost like I was trying too hard.
Right.
So it was kind of, it's kind of,
that's the have fun part.
That's the have fun part. I was not having fun with it. And if I had fun with it, and what's crazy is, dude, I was a bouncer. How could I not have fun with being a bouncer?
Yeah, that's fun.
That's what Jerry, fun. That's what the late great Jerry Hewitt would always say right before action would be just have fun. Just go out there and have fun. Yeah, and sometimes you think you killed it. You just don't know. You think you killed it, and then you hear nothing, and then you think you did like poop, and then you get something. It's like you just never know.
And then with stunt, with stunts, you've always got that. I feel like, I don't know, maybe I don't know if this ever happens in acting because I'm not an actor, but stunts, sometimes you'll do it once and they'll be like, we got it done. And you're like, I could have fucking done so much better. Like, just give me another take. Like, come on. Like, I know you got it, but I can, and then, and then sometimes when you watch it and you're like, oh, that's exactly what I wanted to do on the second take.
But that's a good question. Happy. Like when there are some directors who are notoriously, they're like, they get what they want and they move on, like Clint Eastwood or something. like that's how well, it doesn't matter. I was going to name somebody, but I don't want to name them yet. But when they get it and they move on quickly, and then there's the others who
Like David,
over and over and over, another take, another take, another take.
and he waits for every single element in the room, including the flies on the wall, to be
Mm-hmm.
there.
Mm-hmm.
But what's your experience regarding like the director wanting to move on and you feeling like I can still do better?
If I feel strongly enough about it, I'll ask for another one, and they'll do it usually. It's funny. David and Steven Soderbergh are those are probably the two most accomplished directors I've worked with, and they're really close friends apparently. But it is polar opposites
Really?
of how they work. I mean, Steven doesn't do any coverage. He just shoots exactly what he already knows he's going to need,
Right.
and he shoots it himself. 1 or 2 takes, and that's it. And then I around the time of Mindhunter, I read an interview that David, Holt, and Jonathan did on a panel or something, and David attributed something to me that I don't actually think I said, but maybe I did, and I blocked it out. But he was talking about how we did 75 takes or something with the scene where I make love to a shoe. We did a lot of takes of that. And he said Happy was like, "Are we really going to do this every time?"
That's so funny. Well, hey, if Fincher's out there attributing a quote to you, that's not a bad thing.
That's not a bad thing. No. And all the days blended together so much. I was like, maybe I did say that. I have no idea.
I mean, that's a lot. I know the rep is that he does a endless takes, right? It's crazy. But you lived it. You lived it.
That's very freeing in its own way too, because eventually you get so tired that some authenticity just falls out of you without you even trying, really. And the other thing I loved about that job in particular was, my background's theater, was that it literally felt like we were rehearsing a play for 15 hours a day, and cameras just happened to catch it.
Oh, wow.
Which is a very, very freeing way to work, I think. But the continuity was tough. Like when I smoked, and I have to inhale on the same line, breathe out on the same line, ash on the same place. That's the part that took me the longest to get used to. Because I've smoked a lot of things, but I'm usually just smoking and talking. I'm like, wait, I can't remember. I mean, obviously, eventually I did, but that out of everything was the most challenging for me.
Yeah, the physical mannerisms have to be the same every time. That's very much like what we have to do when we double somebody.
Yes.
Honestly, we have to memorize what you guys do.
It's like a dance.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, when you did your ledge scene on Debs, I have a hard time figuring it. I have to ask you which is you and which is Alex, or if it's Alex or if it's you, because
that's amazing.
He had his walk. He had Alex's
not Zach
Grenier. Zach Grenier.
Yeah,
sorry,
doubled Zach
Alex
Grenier.
was the director.
Yeah.
Sorry, but he had his walk, and it was and what was great was he did the shoulders the same way. Like it was like he watched. It was like he watched Alex walk away, and then he's like, "Okay, do I look like this when I walk away?" And when you guys are on the lead, I can't tell who's who and when they cut and when it's not. It's pretty awesome.
It's well, what it is, because we did 2 days with the actor. We were up on this 6-story ledge, right? And Zach is going out there to stop somebody from who's threatening suicide. So I have to climb out on the ledge and do all this kind of stuff. So we did it for like 2 days with Sonoya Mizuno and Zach, but we had a scaffold built all the way up to the ledge with crash pads there, so they could just step off the ledge onto the scaffold or whatever. So we did the whole scene 2 days with them, and it was me and Linda Jewell was doubling her. We had to learn the lines. We had to memorize their actions and everything, and then the next 2 days we replicated everything without the scaffolding, lines and everything. Just did it exactly the way they did it for Alex Garland was the director, and that was for the drone shots, the crane shots, and all that stuff. But nobody would ever hear us doing the lines or anything. But we learned the basic dialogue and everything just so we could do it exactly the way they did it. So so Zach leaned on the wall on this line, and he put his hand in his pocket on this line, and all that kind of stuff.
That's so great.
It's fun.
That's why I keep requesting Shad, because he has learned to move and like me and gesture like me, and he made himself he's in much better shape than I am, so he made himself like a little belly that he wears under shirt, and he'll adjust it, make it smaller or bigger depending on what kind of shape I'm in for that particular.
Hearing that, it makes me think of Only Murders in the Building. Steve Martin before Zaz, he had his stunt,
his stunt double.
That was like a stunt double for like, but when she would come on, they would dress alike, they would look alike. It was really
right.
Yeah, totally. Well, having that consistent double is a great thing.
And it's great that you can sometimes when you can even bring him with you, and they're like, yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I got on Devs, because I was doubling Zach on Ray Donovan, and then he put in a word for me with Devs and then simultaneously I was talking to the stunt coordinator, and the next thing you know, I'm in California working on that one. But he doesn't do a lot of action stuff, so I don't get whatever. It's all good.
Yeah, weirdly, I do too many fights for my taste.
But
I'm grateful.
Are you not getting? Do you feel like a challenge with your size and everything for since you bring that up, like stereotyping or that kind of thing, or is it something you don't care about? You're like, I'm working and that's the work, or is it a little bit of both?
It's something I never used to care about. By my nature, I think I'm like a really nice person, and I play all these hateful, loathsome people. So when I do tend, when multiple things come up at once, I do tend to gravitate now towards the nicer, lighter stuff.
Right.
And it doesn't come up that often. I'm still like, I found that like a guy my size and complexion, usually the choices are to either be the threat or the butt of the joke, which is fine. I'm always grateful to work. Like, there's no question about that. But if there's any opportunity, like in Full Circle, actually most of it got cut, but I was like this really sweet guy who was taking care of this kid while they were in hiding, and I loved that. And I shot that in my hometown, actually.
Oh, cool.
And I was staying right next to the movie theater where I saw The Princess Bride.
Oh, talk about full circle. That's crazy.
And it was called Full Circle.
Yeah. Ha. That's nuts.
There was a scene where I was teaching a kid how to hunt in the woods, and I realized at one point that these are the woods that my father actually hunted in when we were growing up.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah. It was pretty amazing.
Those are some awesome moments in life when these sort of the timelines intersect. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So what do you got coming up? Anything you can tell us about?
I just finished a bit on this new, it's pretty cool project. This new King Lear movie. Al Pacino's playing Lear, and and it's an amazing cast. It's a really interesting, strange, kind of exciting adaptation of it.
Who are you playing?
I'm playing the captain of the army. I come in and kill everyone at the end. Not
nice
everyone.
Guy.
I don't want
nice guy. Yeah.
But that was that was the second time I got to work with Pacino, so it was. He's amazing. So, and also Ted Levine was in it. Ted Levine, and I got along with him great. But what was interesting that we talked about his Buffalo Bill character in Silence of the Lambs, he based on Jerry Brudos.
Oh wow!
Wow, I did not know that.
Another full circle.
Yeah, totally. It was great. I was going to take a picture of the two of us and be like two serial killers walking to a bar, but I decided to let it go. And also, I'm Quaker, which is a pacifist, and he went to Quaker school, and he's like,
"Oh wow,
funny how us peaceful people play serial killers."
That's so funny. Where will the King Lear? What's the name of it?
It's called Lear Rex.
Lear Rex. Where is that going to be, in theaters, or is it a streamer?
I think it's going to be in theaters.
Oh, cool.
I don't totally know, but
right.
Yeah, but it was a great thing to be a part of. And, yeah. Awesome,
dude. Where can people follow you if they want to keep tabs on your goings on?
Yeah, Happy Anderson Acting on Instagram, cool. And my website is happyandersonacting.com.
Cool. We'll
Awesome.
definitely link that stuff in the show notes.
For sure.
Man, this has been great. We
is
really
great.
appreciate you getting up on a Saturday. It's morning by you.
Right.
You know, a little.
Yeah.
Well, it
Yeah.
was. It was a little more early than.
Thanks
over
so
here,
much
but-
for making the time, Happy. This is great.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you guys for having me on.
And thank your wife
It's been
again.
fun.
Yes.
I will. I definitely will.
Someday when I meet her, we'll laugh over our union picket line joke together. All right, cool. Thank you for everybody listening, and we'll sign off with Happy, and we'll see you, in 2 weeks.
Perfect.
Have a good one, everybody.
Fights with Friends is brought to you by Breakfall Studios and Press Record Studios. Executive producers Stephen Kepfer, Paul Veracci, and Tiago Benedetti. Produced by Matthew Kaplowitz. Associate producers Becca GT and Jared DeCrose. Our video editor is Matthew Kaplowitz. Original music by Aru Luster.